Is your English vocabulary limited to only good, bad, nice? Well, today I will discuss how to improve your vocabulary fast by using advanced adjectives. This simple but effective technique will help you to get good grades in any English exams like TOEFL, Ielts, or even your school exams. You can improve your level of English instantly. Welcome, I'm Seema from Edufinite. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Without any delay, let's delve into the topic. Well, today our topic is how to improve our vocabulary. Well, I will be coming up with 3 sentences for each topic, and you will be able to understand how we will be moving from generally used words to more specific and more interesting words to upgrade the sentence level to an advanced level. So, our first sentence is, our tour guide was good. So, good is a very general word. It does not say much specific thing about someone or something. It's a very general term. So, we will replace this adjective good with something more interesting, something more specific. So, let's look into the second sentence. Our tour guide was amazing. So, once you replace good with amazing, what you do is you, from general, from a very vague word, you move on to something more specific and something more interesting. If you use more specific words, your writing as well as speaking skills improve. Okay, the third sentence will be as, our tour guide was informative. So you see, we are becoming all the more specific. Informative means she had a lot of information whenever she took us to some place, and she would tell us about the history in details, and she was, very interesting person. She was very informative. She gave us a lot of information about each and every interesting place she took us to. In this way, what we do is, instead of using a more general and more vague term as an adjective, if we use a very specific or very interesting term, the level of a sentence automatically goes to the advanced level. Okay, now let's look into the second sentence. The view from our hotel was nice. So this is a very general term, nice. It's not very interesting term. So we have to, use more specific and more interesting words to raise the level of our sentence or to raise the level of our English while writing or while speaking. We'll have to use more interesting adjectives. So instead of nice, we can use the view from our hotel was stunning. Or we can also say the view from our hotel was breathtaking. So when you use these words as stunning or breathtaking, your level of English automatically gets enhanced because you're using more specific words which are interesting as well as, very specific. Because if you say nice, people don't understand. Nice is a vague term. What is it? Is the scenic beauty nice, or what is it that you are saying nice? So instead of nice, when you use stunning or when you use breathtaking, then the sentence becomes much more interesting. And of course, if you write such sentences or if you speak in this manner, using more varied adjectives, then your level of English, of course, it goes from basic to intermediate to advanced. Okay, the next sentence is, the videos you suggested were good. So again, good, that's a very general term. That's very widely used. That's a very vague term. So to make it more interesting and more specific, let's use some other adjective. The videos you suggested were useful. Or you could even say, the videos you suggested were educative. So you see, instead of good and bad and nice, which are very vague and very, very general terms, which we use for everything, which we generally do, But if we try to use other words, which are more specific, which are more interesting, which are more energetic, which are more dynamic, then what happens? Your sentences, the level of your sentences automatically, it gets raised to the advanced level. So, next sentence is as, the dinner was good. So again, we get stuck with good, but we have to come out of it and use some other adjective, and we can use the dinner was very tasty, or we could even say the dinner was super delicious. So you see, if we, change the descriptive words, what happens? If the words are not very general or very vague, but if we, use very specific, very interesting words, they have a nice impact. The sentences, appease the teachers who are correcting your papers. They like words which are more specific, which are more interesting, instead of these general vague words like good, bad, nice, beautiful. So we have to move on to use words that give more interesting and more specific meaning to that sentence. Okay. The next one is, the problem was hard. Well, again, that's a general term, hard. But if we replace this hard with, the problem was quite difficult. So we are being able to portray the intensity of the difficulty, quite difficult, or we could even say the problem was extremely challenging. So you see, when we start, playing with our vocabulary, we start including words which are not very general, which are more specific, more to the point. Our sentences become more nice and beautiful. Our sentences become more specific to what we want to say. Next, we have, the pain in the swollen eye was bad. So whenever something is negative, we always tend to use this word bad, which is again a very general term and it's a very vague term. Instead, let's use some other adjective which is more specific to this situation. So, the pain in the swollen eye was intense. So, you can portray that the pain in the eye which was swollen was excruciating. That's another word for something that is very painful. So, this way, if we start playing with our vocabulary and start including words which are more specific in meaning to what we want to say or what we want to write, immediately the level of our sentence rises above and it goes, if you use bad, it will be something as very basic English, but if we go on to change it to intense or excruciating, of course it will move on from basic to intermediate to advanced level. Okay. She described that her bad weather experience was a rough one. And next, we can change these adjectives and replace them with, she described that her rough weather experience was a horrible one. So you see, instead of the general bad weather, if we say rough weather, we can portray or we can, put into someone's mind what type of weather was being described. And the experience was a rough one, of course, that is okay, but that's again a very, general term. Instead, if we say a horrible one, it becomes more specific, more informative. Again, we can also say, she described that her turbulent weather experience was a harrowing one. So this is, giving us the feeling that it was a very, very bad weather. It was extremely bad weather, which she was describing, and she had faced it, and her experience was a harrowing one, means that was extremely horrible one. So these are the words which you have to play with. If you find that these words are are a little difficult, you can look up to the meaning, you can look up to their synonyms, you can write them down, you can make your own sentences with them. The more you use them in your vocabulary, the more familiar you will be and the more easy it will come to you, and of course you will be able to raise your standard of English, both speaking and writing. Okay, the next sentence is as, the meeting was a good one. Again, the general term, we always stick to good, bad. So we have to come out of this good one. So let's use some other adjective to describe it. The meeting was a useful one. So that's more specific. It was useful. Yes, the meeting, there was some outcome of the meeting. So the meeting was a useful one. Or we can even say the meeting was a productive one. So this way, what are we doing? Instead of a general word, we are using more specific terms, more specific adjectives to make the sentence or the meaning of the sentence more specific, more to the point. So that will help you in your exams when you use such specific to the point adjectives. Okay, next we have, the much needed vacation was a nice one. Again, nice one, if we say, yeah, it's good. I mean, we generally tend to use this good, bad, nice words. But we can replace it with, the much needed vacation was a pleasant one. Yes, you can change from nice to pleasant. Immediately your level of sentence becomes one step up. Okay, the next, you can also say, the much needed vacation was a refreshing one. So see, the way you play with your words, the more you use interesting and dynamic words, the more interesting and dynamic your sentence becomes, and that helps in scoring better marks. Okay, next we have, please don't play bad music. Now, what do you mean by saying bad music? Please specify. So you can say, please don't play boring music. So something that's boring is bad to you, so please specify, or you can even say, please don't play monotonous music. So something that is, that does not have ups and downs, maybe you don't like, it's very monotonous for you and it's boring for you. So you can say, please don't play monotonous music. Don't say, please don't play bad music. Okay. Next, we have, Jenny is eager about the trip. Eager is also a good word, but we can replace it with, Jenny is excited about the trip, or Jenny is enthusiastic about the trip. So the more synonyms you gather for each word, the more your vocabulary gets enriched. So please make it a point of taking a notebook where you start writing words and then you look for the synonyms in the dictionary. Maybe it's a paper dictionary or maybe it's online dictionary, and write down the synonyms and then try to make sentences with those synonyms. So that way you will be increasing your vocabulary. So please do that. The more you write and practice, the more easier it will be for you. Okay, next we have, the weather app is warning against the bad weather next week. So again, we are stuck with bad. We have to remove this bad and we can use, the weather app is warning against the very cold weather next week. So bad weather, what type of bad weather? Please specify. Very cold weather. Again, very is very extensively used. So very cold, we can replace it with, the weather app is warning against the freezing weather next week. So this is again more specific and more dynamic word. It tells us about the weather that's going to be extremely cold. So be prepared. Okay, the next sentence is, the horrible accident site was a very bad experience. Again, we are stuck with that general word bad. We'll have to eliminate it and use, the horrible accident site was a very scary experience. Or we can even say, the horrible accident site was a very traumatic experience. So scary, traumatic, these are all synonyms. So you can look up for more synonyms which are suitable for these sentences and replace them with those synonyms, so your vocabulary will go on increasing and you'll have a nice vocabulary where you can use it regularly in your writing or use them while you are speaking, and you will be increasing your English skills from basic level to intermediate to advanced level. Okay, next we have, we went to their housewarming party. It was nice. So again, we are stuck with the general word nice. We'll have to, stop using the word nice, and instead we can say we went to the housewarming party. It was fun. Or we can also say we went to their housewarming party. It was enjoyable. So you see, this way we can replace these general words with synonyms which are much more interesting, much more to the point. So our sentences also become specific and to the point of what we are wanting to say. Next we have, how was your day? The answer can be either it was a good one, if it was a good one, of course, or if it wasn't good, then you can say it was a bad one. Again, we are stuck with good and bad. So let's replace those two words with something more specific and something more interesting. So how was your day? It was a really fruitful one, or it was a really hard one. So if you say it was a really fruitful one, that means it was, very good one. So we are using synonyms which will help us to come out of the fact that we always use the word good and very. These words we want to, erase from our vocabulary and instead use some interesting and more specific words. So we can say it was a really fruitful one if it was very productive and you've done a lot of things, so you can say it was a fruitful one. Or if something had gone wrong and something was not right and you really couldn't do much, so you can always say it was a really hard one, or maybe you had to work very hard, so it was a really hard one. Or you could even say it was an extremely productive one, or it was an extremely stressful one. So whenever you add adverbs to the adjectives, then the sentence becomes all the more interesting. So it was an extremely productive one, or it was an extremely stressful one. This is how you can play with words. You can build up your vocabulary by looking up for synonyms and using those synonyms to make sentences. Always play with these words. The more you delve into the matter, the more you look for the words, the more you research, the more you gather words, the more your vocabulary will be enriched, and you will raise your level of English from basic to intermediate to advanced. So happy learning. Hope the lesson was useful. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. I'll be back with a new lesson soon. Till then, take care, stay safe, be happy.